"You're an embarrassment," my mother hissed through clenched teeth. Her diamond bracelet glinted in the sun as she pushed me gently, but deliberately, behind the stone pillar near the fountain. Her red lipstick didn't even smudge as she smiled toward the camera. "Just stand behind that. You'll ruin the picture with that dress." She didn't say it loud, but it didn't need volume. It was venom enough to cut through flesh. "Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. My brother Zach stood at the center of the family photo setup, tall and smug in his custom tuxedo, holding his new bride like she was royalty. Their white and gold theme was everywhere, from the velvet drapes to the imported roses. But I was not part of it. Not really. Never was. Behind me, the wedding photographer waited politely, as if he was used to families who wanted to crop out certain people. I stood silently. Not out of weakness, but calculation. My stepsister Maddie passed by and snorted. Maybe she can be the shadow in the background. Every event needs one. Laughter. From cousins. From aunts. Even Dad looked down and pretended he was fixing his cufflinks. That's when I smiled. Just a small, composed smile. "That's okay," I said softly, turning and pulling something from the clutch I had brought with me. I brought my own frame. They didn't understand what I meant, not yet. And that's when it happened. The roar of an engine echoed through the stone arches. Heads turned. First confusion. Then irritation. The kind rich people feel when something disrupts the aesthetic. A sleek black Mercedes Maybach rolled into the marble driveway. A chauffeur stepped out first, circled to the back door, and opened it. The man who got out didn't belong in this world. He owned it. Tailored black suit. Impossibly sharp jawline. Presence that made people forget what they were saying mid-sentence. He didn't just walk, he arrived. Eyes locked on mine like I was the only person on the planet. Someone whispered, "Who is that?" My mother's lips parted, confusion crawling across her perfectly Botoxed face. He walked straight to me, ignoring every staring guest, and with a practiced hand, reached into his jacket, pulled out a velvet box, and handed it to me. "Sorry I'm late, babe," he said, voice deep and steady, eyes never leaving mine. Traffic was hell. But I couldn't let you face this alone. When I opened the box, a glint of diamonds caught the afternoon sun, an emerald-cut bracelet I'd once admired in passing, never expecting anyone would remember. I smiled again. Right on time. Every head turned. Silence fell over the manicured courtyard. You could hear the roses breathe. Then came the whispers. "Who is he?" "Wait," he called her babe. "Is she? Is that her boyfriend?" My stepsister choked on her champagne. Zach blinked, frozen mid-pose with his bride. My mother's carefully constructed face cracked. "Who is this man?" I turned to her.
Calm. Serene.
"This is my husband."
Gasps.
Actual, audible gasps. One woman dropped her glass. My father's face went white, like he'd seen a ghost carrying his overdue karma. "And he's not just my husband," I added, turning back to the stunned crowd. "He owns half the companies you people rent your limos from." The photographer's camera clicked. The shot captured everything, their dropped jaws, his hand on my waist, my calm stare. And just like that, I wasn't behind the pillar anymore. I was the picture. "Wait, husband." Maddie's voice cracked like cheap glass. "Since when do you have a husband?" I let the silence throb for a moment, then turned slightly to face her. "Since before your last nose job." A few people stifled awkward laughs. My billionaire husband, Landon Carter, simply rested a calm hand on my lower back. He was built like a man who'd fought for every dollar, though, in reality, he was the heir to a private aerospace empire. But nobody at this wedding had bothered to ask what I'd been doing all these years, because they assumed I was doing nothing. My mom's face twitched. "You never told us you were married."
You never asked, I said.
"You were too busy pretending I didn't exist. Remember the baby shower? I was standing at the door, and you told the caterer to close it in my face." Landon's eyes sharpened. He'd heard that story before. But now, seeing them, added a new edge to the fury I knew he kept buttoned up behind that sleek suit. I didn't recognize him, Zach muttered to Dad, but loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. That's Landon Carter, isn't it? The Carter Group? Dad suddenly looked like he was trying to remember whether he'd ever insulted the man. He had. Twice. Why are you even here? Mom asked, voice clipped, desperate to regain control. If you're so important, why bother showing up for people who clearly didn't care? Landon tilted his head, slow and deliberate. Because she wanted to come. Because she still believed there was something worth showing up for. That's the difference between her and all of you. My chest tightened. It wasn't the words.
It was the truth in them.
I just wanted to support my brother, I said softly. Even after being left off the program. After my seat card said, overflow table. Even after you told the stylist to ignore me for hair and makeup. Maddie laughed like a squirrel trying to stay relevant. If you were really married to a billionaire, you wouldn't show up in that cheap dress. Landon chuckled under his breath. That dress cost more than your last apartment's down payment. I turned. Landon. No, he said gently but firm. They don't get to rewrite your worth anymore. And just like that, the waiter returned, holding something. A gold-trimmed envelope. With my name engraved. I raised an eyebrow. What's this? The waiter smiled nervously. From the head of Redwood Holdings. Mr. Carter asked us to deliver it publicly. I took it, tore it open, pulled out the single folded card. Read it aloud. As of this morning, the deed for Hawthorne Estate is now in your name. Happy anniversary. The hush around the courtyard was deafening. My mother's jaw dropped. That's our family estate. That can't be. Dad spun toward her. You sold it behind my back last year. Said it was too expensive to maintain. Maddie gasped. You mean she owns Grandma's house now? The one with the indoor pool and the art collection? I folded the card.
Technically, I didn't buy it.
My husband did. He knew I loved that place. You're lying, Mom spat. Landon pulled his phone from his inner jacket pocket, tapped twice, and turned the screen toward them. An official property transfer. My name. Today's date. Maddie stumbled back a step. My mother's voice cracked. You planned this? No, I said quietly. You forced this. People were watching now. Not just from the wedding party, guests from the other side of the courtyard. Even the bride, pale and forgotten in her designer gown, watched us in silence. You told me to hide, I said, voice rising with years of buried heartbreak. You pushed me behind a pillar for a photo I never asked to be in. But I made my own frame. And now you're all looking at me. Landon slipped his hand into mine, gently pulling me toward the stairs that led out of the courtyard. You're leaving? Zach finally found his voice. Why stay? I said, looking him in the eyes. You didn't even introduce me to your wife. She blinked. Wait, you're a sister? I smiled.
Exactly.
No one tells my story at this wedding, so I'll go write my own. And with that, we left. But this wasn't over. Because I hadn't just come to show them my husband. I had come for something else. Something bigger. The real revenge was still coming. The car ride back from the wedding was quiet, but not heavy. Just full. Full of things neither of us said out loud. Landon reached over, resting his hand gently on my knee. You okay? I nodded, staring out at the blur of lights passing by. I should be. I mean, that was everything I ever wanted to say to them. But it still stings. They don't deserve your peace, he said softly. But you do. I let the silence settle again. Until I finally said it. They made me feel like I was nothing. For years. He didn't reply right away. He just squeezed my hand. That said enough. We pulled into the driveway of our penthouse. The concierge was already waiting, holding an envelope with a wax seal. For Mrs. Carter, he said with a polite smile. I took it. Who's it from? No name. Just said it's urgent. Upstairs, I cracked the seal. It wasn't from a stranger. It was from my grandfather's lawyer. and it had one sentence highlighted in yellow. The family inheritance is being reevaluated following recent evidence regarding your exclusion. I froze. What is it? Landon asked. They're opening Grandpa's estate again, I said, my voice trembling. Because someone's questioning why I was left out. Landon stepped closer. You think he really meant to cut you out? I shook my head.
No.
Grandpa always looked out for me. But after he passed, Mom handled everything. She hated that he still loved me even after I left. Left, he echoed. After she slapped me for applying to art school. After she called me a waste of tuition. Landon's jaw clenched. You never told me she hit you. I didn't want you to see me as broken. I never saw you that way. Ever. I swallowed hard, trying not to let the tears win. You know what the worst part is? What? They think they made me who I am. But all they really did was hand me the reason to become something else. Landon grinned. That sounds a lot like revenge. No, I said. That sounds like freedom. But the next morning, everything changed. Because my phone blew up before sunrise. Voicemails. Missed calls. Texts from relatives who never saved my number. Family group chat. 47 unread messages. And one video. I opened it. It was the bride from the wedding.
Crying.
Makeup smeared. Dress in a ball on the hotel floor. I just found out Zach's been cheating. With Maddie. The video ended. And underneath it, another message. Your mom knew. She helped cover it up before the wedding. I sat in stunned silence. Landon, now behind me, read the text too. So, they buried your spot in the family, he said slowly, while hiding his sins under the rug? Exactly. He narrowed his eyes. Do you want to stay out of it? I turned toward him.
No.
I want in. All the way in. I didn't plan to ruin them. They did that themselves. All I did was stop protecting their secrets. Landon stood at the edge of our rooftop balcony, holding his phone. You sure you want to do this? I nodded. I'm not leaking anything. I'm just letting the truth be seen. He tapped send. A simple upload. No captions. No hashtags. Just the bride's video and one sentence. Loyalty shouldn't be punished. But betrayal should. Within 30 minutes, it was everywhere. Weddings weekly, local news, private group chats. By noon, Maddie had locked her social media. Zach was reportedly hiding in a hotel. And my mother?
She called me.
7 times. I didn't answer. Until the 8th. I let it ring once, twice, then picked up, slow. Her voice was sharp, frantic. What have you done? I showed the truth. You're destroying your brother's marriage. No, I said calmly. He did that when he climbed into bed with your favorite daughter. You always hated Maddie. No, I cut in. I hated how you preferred her. How you flaunted her wins and erased mine. How you made me feel like I had to earn the love you handed her for free. She was silent for a second. Then, people are watching this video. It's humiliating. I smiled. Now you know how I felt behind that pillar. She exhaled slowly. What do you want, Scarlett? I hadn't heard her say my name like that in years. Not with softness. Not with defeat. I want nothing from you, I replied. But there's something you owe Grandpa. She went quiet again. I know what you did, I continued. The forged signature on the will. The missing page. The accidental exclusion. That's nonsense. I spoke to the estate lawyer. They're reopening everything. Now she sounded nervous. That inheritance was divided years ago. I'm not after the money, I said flatly. I just want the truth to be part of the record. So your legacy isn't just built on flowers and photo ops, but on fraud. Her voice trembled. You do that to your own mother? You're not my mother. You're the woman who made me believe I didn't belong. Then I hung up. Landon stepped beside me. How do you feel? I looked out at the skyline. Sun dipping low. Lighter. He wrapped an arm around me. You know, we still haven't taken any wedding photos. I laughed. Why start now? Because this time, he said, pulling out his phone. You're not behind the pillar. He snapped a photo. Just me, in my frame. 2 weeks later, I stood in the very courtroom my mother once said I'd never see, because people like you don't inherit legacies, they just clean up after them. Not anymore. The probate judge looked over the documents with narrowed eyes. So this signature from Mr. Hawthorne, your grandfather, was filed in an earlier version of the will? The estate lawyer nodded. Yes, Your Honor. And the newer version, the one submitted by Ms. Elaine Hawthorne, he glanced toward my mother, shows signs of tampering. Digital reconstruction confirms a cut-and-paste job on page 5. My mother sat motionless. Her hands clutched the edge of the bench. Maddie wasn't beside her. Neither was Zach. They were somewhere hiding from cameras and their own shame. The judge turned to me. Miss Scarlett Hawthorne Carter, it appears you were wrongfully removed from the will. I stayed composed. Thank you, Your Honor. Are you seeking restitution? I shook my head. No, Your Honor. I'm seeking recognition. He nodded. Then let the record reflect. Scarlett was, and is, an heir of the Hawthorne estate, legally and by intention.
Boom. Just like that. Truth.
Not whispered. Stamped. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Landon reached for my hand. Want to give a statement? Nope. Then let's go home. We walked past the chaos, the microphones, the questions. But just as we reached the car, I turned.
Not to speak.
But to look. One last time. My mother stood at the courthouse steps, arms folded, eyes empty. Alone.
She didn't call out.
She didn't apologize. She just watched, like a stranger who recognized someone they used to love. And for the first time in my life, I didn't ache for her approval. I had rewritten everything. Not with rage, but with clarity. And I finally understood something. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be, and walking away with grace. I slipped into the car beside Landon. He looked at me, eyes warm. You okay? I smiled. No, I said. I'm extraordinary. Then we drove off. Past the courthouse. Past the weight of my past. And into the life I built, framed by no one but me.